And thank you to everybody who read. Again, I'm an addict and my name's Adam. Tonight, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful that Hope and Shawn were willing to come out and share their experience, strength, and hope. Hope will go first, and then Shawn. So without further ado, Hope.
Hi, my name is Hope, and I am an addict.
Hey, Hope.
So this is the first time I've ever done this, so bear with me. So my disease started way before I actually started using or drinking or anything like that. I always had this feeling of being unwanted and just inadequate, and I had self-loathing issues. And I started getting into trouble real young, like before I was even a teenager. So my first time I ever smoked a cigarette, took a bong rip, had a beer, I was the same age. I was 10 years old on my birthday. My cousin was the one that was sanctioning that. And it kind of evolved from there. I met some friends who I thought cared about me, and that's all I ever wanted. And they were using drugs. So I followed suit, and I realized that if I use, I could push off those feelings for a while. And the problem with that is that when I came down, they would always come back. So by the time I was 17, I was introduced to cocaine, and that became the first love of my life. I used heavily every day for about 10 years. And then what happened was my father and my grandfather passed away back to back within a month. That kind of pushed me farther into it. Started using the needle. I started shooting meth. I just didn't give a fuck anymore. And even then, I didn't realize that I was tearing my life apart. It wasn't until I broke down in tears one time because I called my dealer. I had everything lined up. I finally had begged my mom for money. She gave it to me. I fucking called the dude. He was fucking lined up. And somehow, by the grace of God, I could not find my phone. I mean, he's not the type of dude that you can just walk in the bar, So I started crying hysterically, and I cried myself to sleep that night. All this was happening. I had abscess all over my arms. I go to my mom's house. I meet my sister there. She's like, I told her I couldn't go to work because my abscesses were so painful. So she took me to the hospital to get my abscess drained. And directly from there, she took me to detox. I had been to mental institutions several times. I thought that if I could fix the underlying issues, because I am dual diagnosis, which means I have mental health disorders as well as substance addiction. So this was the first time I went to a detox. From detox, something lined up just by miracle. I had been waiting on a bed. I had been calling for weeks and weeks, and I was slipping. I did use, and then I went to detox. From there, I was able to get a bed in a place called Recovery Unplugged. It's up in Northern Virginia, and that place saved my life. I learned coping skills. I found the rooms of NA there. And I couldn't get clean. The reason I went up there is because I couldn't get clean where I was from. Everywhere I looked, I used for 2 decades. Everywhere I looked, there was a trigger. And I didn't think I was ready for that. So I went to a rehab that was far away from where I was at. And that worked for a while. So things kind of turned shit at work there. I injured myself. So I ended up back here. And I continued to go to the NA rooms. But I had one reservation about my sobriety, and that was the loss of my mother. And that ended up happening. And I tried to hold it together for a long time. I lasted about 3 months. And then I relapsed. But I found when I relapsed, I drank a bottle of Jameson to the face, and that wasn't my drug of choice. My drug of choice was cocaine and a needle. But just through that relapse, I felt suicidal. I tried to kill myself by running into a fucking bridge in my new truck, which was a great idea. Didn't work. But I realized that wasn't the lifestyle I wanted to live, because my life had been getting so much better. I had a year and a half clean. I got to be there for my mom when she passed, but after that, I kind of just fell apart. So yeah, I had the relapse before the relapse. So when my mom got sick, I stopped coming to meetings, and I just kind of started slipping mentally, and the relapse happened. So I went to detox again. My sister said that was the last time she was going to look out for me, and I believe her. I kind of left her to take care of the estate of my mother. And that drove a wedge between us. But we rehashed our relationship. All I can say is that these rooms, they saved my life. I'd never thought that anyone would ever understand what I was going through until I walked into the rooms. And I was skeptical at first. And the fucking hugs and all that shit is weird. I don't like to be touched. But the more I stepped around, the more I understood that these were genuine people who really had my best interest at heart and getting numbers and calling those numbers and making a community for myself that changed my life considerably. All my life has just been getting better and better. The more I do service work, the more I show up for people, the more I do good things. And the only thing that really scares me is complacency, because that's when I slip. I need to make sure that I make my ass in the seat of the meeting, because I always hear what I need to hear. I even when I don't want to go, that's when I need to go the most. I don't know. This program just saved my life. I never want to go back to the place where I came from. I mean, I was broken down. I couldn't work because I was so fucked up all the time, or withdrawing. I was broke as fuck. I don't know how. My mother was a huge enabler. So I always had a place to fucking go. It was really disappointing to see that look on her face when she knew I was using. I was disgusting as a human being, and I never want to go back to that. I'm happy with who I am as a person now. I'm grateful to be able to come here and spread my message, and hopefully it helps one of y'all. I don't know, man. I'm super grateful. I found my higher power. I know a lot of people kind of cringe at that, but there's not. I would be here if it weren't for a higher power. I don't know. That's really all I got. Thanks for me here.
I love you, Hope. Thank you. I love sharing. Thank you. All right, Shawn.
You Shawn, I'm an addict.
Shawn.
So I stand up when I share. So look, so Hope just said, I just met Hope like 15 minutes ago. So I don't really, she just said, she came in here and found some people that understood how she felt, right? That's what makes this shit fucking work for real. Y'all know Joe W that works here? Yeah. All right, Joe W is the first person I ever met when I stepped foot into the first NA meeting ever. I'm gonna get to that in just a second. But the reason why this shit works is because if you ain't ever really felt like what it feels, that feeling she was talking about fucking, I'm a fucking piece of shit. Like I done fucked up the people I love the most, shitted on them again. How the fuck did I keep doing this shit, man? If you ain't ever been fucking sitting and booking, freezing your ass off, dope sick, man, fuck you. You can't really help. I don't care how many books you read, how many degrees you got. You don't fucking know what you're talking about, right? So look, I don't tell a whole lot about how it was when I was getting high. Everybody in this room knows how to get high, right? I'll skip right to the good shit. I wasn't the kind of addict who would get some dope and then go home and play house, though. I couldn't do that shit. I disappeared. I would, it started just being gone late on a Friday and then gone for the whole weekend and gone for weeks, months. Being incarcerated was a huge part of my story. I've done so much fucking time. But look, y'all know what the color code is? None of y'all motherfuckers know what the color code is? All right, the color code is when you're on probation or parole in Norfolk, your PO assigns you a color. Every morning you got to call this number. They'll say the color for today is. And look, back in the day when I was on the color code, we were better off going in there and pissing dirty than just not showing up for the people, right? That was in 2004.
I don't mean no disrespect, but ain't no motherfucker in here. You ain't got calls, motherfucker.
Simmer down,
Easy
bro.
does it.
Simmer down,
Relax.
bro. Simmer down, bro.
Calm down. We got
Simmer
a meeting
down,
going on.
bro.
We got a meeting. All right, here we go.
Simmer down. Simmer down, bro. Look, it's all good, dude. Hey, look. All right, maybe I should preface something here. Look, man, I ain't coming at none of y'all with disrespect, right? I'm talking to y'all the way it was delivered to me when I got here, right? Okay? So look, I had 8 years on paper. I was not trying to give it to the people. And I had been gone for 5 or 6 days. My friends that I was with were like, dude, where are we dropping you off at? Everybody knows how shitty that feeling is, right? You don't have to be a motherfucker to understand that terrible feeling. But I guess I got to go home now and look at the faces of all the people that I've been disappointing and hurt. That's a feeling of guilt and shame that sucks, man. It's so much easier to stay out there getting high all the time instead of feeling that feeling, right? So I get dropped off. I go to the house. And my girl was like, your color came up today, bitch. That was me being called bitch, so simmer down. My girl was like, your color came up today, bitch. And I was like, oh, fuck. So we go down to the PO office and I go to sign in, but it wasn't my color. But the cops were there, so I got arrested. Her and my PO had tricked me to get me down there. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. At the time, I'm sitting there in the PO's office. My girl was standing there with me, and the cop was standing behind me, and the lady was writing, and I was begging. And she stopped writing, and she reached in her desk, and she tried to hand me an NA meeting list. I couldn't take it because I was handcuffed. So my girl snatched it up, and she was like, there's one starting in 20 minutes. Dude, that is how I found myself sitting in the very first NA meeting I ever put foot into, right? It was a noon meeting in Lambert's Point on a Tuesday. It's not there anymore. Joe W. started that meeting. Joe used to be a postman, a mailman, and he was on disability in the early 2000s for his back. The dude lived and breathed NA. He started so many meetings, and that was one of them. So it was a huge meeting, and I was sitting in there, and my girl was still pissed off. And she was like, blah, 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 blah in my ear. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Let me listen to these people. It was listen to her, give me what I deserved, or listen to the meeting. And they were reading out of our book, Who's an Addict? And I was like, shit, that sounds like me. Yo, I did that a couple of hours ago. I do that all the time. So it was just like, for me, at that moment, it was like, man, I'm tired of giving these people time. I'm going to try this. Joe talked to me after that meeting for like 2 hours. He was like, he described to me how I felt. I had literally like 5 hours clean. I was still geeking, still coming down, still feeling like shit. And I hated myself, man. I hated myself. You don't feel good about yourself when you're fucking just shitting on the people you love the most. You know what I'm saying? Joe said, look, man, I'm not special, dude. I just got here before you. And he told me to do these things in this order, and my life would get better. He would say, can you do that? And I was like, let's go, man. I'll try. I didn't know for sure that I was going to be able to do it, but I knew that one thing was for sure. I was tired of giving these people time, right? And I was tired of seeing my little girl's look in her face every time I told some bullshit lie, right? And I was tired of hating myself. Actually, I wasn't tired of hating myself. I didn't really care if I lived or died for real. I ripped off dope boys hoping I'd get knocked off and shit. And it just never happened, right? Because I didn't give a shit. So look, so Joe used to come from Portsmouth to Ocean View, pick me up, carry me around to meetings for 2 straight weeks. He carried me to meetings all the time. And he would be like, hey man, we're going to go get some food. Where do you want to go? And I'm like, man, I don't have any money, dude. I must owe you like 1 million lunches. And he would say, you don't owe me nothing. One day you'll buy lunches. He was like, that's how this shit works, man. I was like, okay, all right. So look, I'm going to fast forward now, right? Look, that girl who tricked me to get clean, she didn't get clean with. She was the kind of person who could get dope and play house. She ended up getting knocked off and went to the penitentiary, and so I got custody of my children. My daughter was 11, and my baby was like 6 months. And the 11-year-old, I had pissed her off so many times, she didn't want anything to do with me. She went and lived with her mom's side of the family, but I had my little 6-month-old baby, Mallory, and she grew up in NA meetings. She learned how to crawl and walk in NA meetings and stuff, coloring over in the corner and shit. But look, I ended up meeting this woman, and this woman comes from like a really nice family. Like, they make Hallmark movies about her family. I don't have any business being around her family, right? But she was going through a custody battle with her ex-husband, and that guy had a lot of money, so he hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on me. So I was sitting in the courtroom with her mom and her aunt and her uncle and her 2 sisters and her best friend. And this dude was sitting up there just running down my whole, all my dirt. And I was like, well, shit, I guess this was cool while it lasted. But my mother-in-law was like, Shawn, we just can't picture you doing any of that stuff. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. The reason why I told y'all that story is because of this. I told her that day, I was like, that God that y'all just heard described, that dude's dead. That God doesn't exist. Now, look, everybody in this room has a version of that guy or that girl. We all have this like evil twin that's trying to kill us, right? Like, I don't believe God made anybody in this room to live a miserable life and to hurt their loved ones, right? We got this fucked up thing inside of us called addiction, and I view it like an evil twin that's trying to fucking kill me, right? The weapon that we use to kill that motherfucker is those steps, dog. I'm going to tell y'all like a quick version of how we do that. Step 1, we admit we're powerless over addiction. Now our lives have become unmanageable. We're sitting in a treatment right now. Obviously, shit ain't going real hot, right? It should be easy to understand intellectually that step 1 is right. Step 1 does something different when it goes from your head down into your heart. Look, in 3 months, I'll have 20 years clean, okay? I don't do that for time. I don't have a lot of time. Look, I say that because even with the amount of time that I have clean, I still know without a doubt I am never going to be able to drink just a couple of beers like normal dudes. I'm never going to be, just let me hit that joint one time. That's never going to be me, and I'm cool with it. That last part, and I'm cool with it, that is the biggest fucking thing that separates or differentiates people who are constantly relapsing and don't really get this thing from the people who hang around for a long time. Because if you're in here and you're thinking, soon as I get off paper, or soon as I save my career or save my marriage or what have you, then I can go back to playing around and having fun, you're fucked up in the game. There's a whole lot of things in this program that get you fucked up in the game. You know what I mean? Tripping blocks. That's one of them. You've got to accept. Look, I was 28 when I got clean. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I am not going to be able to. It's scary. Women kind of can understand scary. A lot of dudes think they're tough as fuck. And I mean, and they don't want to admit it. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary as shit to come face to face with the realization that all the shit that you think you know is bullshit, and you got to unlearn it and learn some new shit. But that's why we got step 2. Step 2 and step 3 are higher power steps, but you don't even got to fuck with that right now. Because the way it was described to me, because I didn't want anything to do with anything having to do with God, right? But my sponsor, when I first got clean, he was like, step 2 is a hope step, dude. Joe took me to a convention, the second TACNA convention, and there was like 6,000 people there. All these dudes and all these people are happy. They're laughing. I still hated myself. I had like a week clean. He was like, look, man, none of these people are better than you. They just all got here before you. You're going to keep around and you're going to do these things in this order. And then one day you're going to be happy. That's step 2, believing that you ain't no worse than any of the other people. And that none of the people like me, I got 20 years, I ain't better than you. I just got here before you. That's step 2. It's hope. Step 3 is where we push all the chips in. Like, look, you can't look at the program and all the suggestions we have and say, I ain't doing that step. I don't want nothing to do with that step. Fuck that suggestion. My sponsor told me to call somebody every day. I ain't doing that bullshit. That's another tripping block. You're fucked up in the game. Step 3 says, fuck it. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm all in. I'm going to do the suggestions the way my sponsor tells me, right? That's step 3. Then we get to step 4. And look, this is where the shit, like, look, man, if y'all can think of like a computer that's so fucked up with viruses that like it doesn't even work and shit, that's us, right? This steps 4 through like 10, that's where you wipe the fucking motherboard clean and start reprogramming that bitch for real, right? So look, step 4, everybody's afraid of step 4. I'm gonna write out an inventory about myself. People are afraid of it. But when you go over your step 4 on step 5 with your sponsor, my sponsor was like, Shawn, you see all these patterns? And I was like, oh man, what are you talking about? He was like, look, man, it looks like every time you get in a situation like this is how you respond. It seems like when you feel like this, you always react like this. He was like, for the next couple of weeks, I want you to start looking for these patterns in your life. Man, they were everywhere, man. Like a week and a half later, I mean, I'm single at this point with my little baby at meetings and shit, but a week and a half later, I'm standing outside of a meeting with a bunch of dudes, and there's like a girl over around the way talking to some other girls that I'm trying to flirt with, and this guy I never met before like cracks a joke and everybody starts laughing. First thing my head said was, smack the shit out this dude so that this girl doesn't think you're a bitch. Or you can laugh because it was a funny joke and I look good in street clothes and I'm tired of giving these people my time, right? That was another pattern. My fucking dumbass ego putting me in behind bars constantly. What's another fucking pattern? My money's all fucked up because I don't know how to fucking give my money to the people who it's supposed to go to. It's fucking the 6th or the 7th of the month and I hear a knock on the door and everybody, shut the fuck up, act like nobody's there. No, that's another pattern. Maybe I could open the door and be like, look, man, I know I owe you the rent. I ain't got it right now, but I got a job now and I'm going to get you straight. Another pattern. Look, man, I lived in a fucking shed. Y'all are in early recovery. You don't have a lot of power, a whole lot of control over a whole lot of shit in your life. What you do have control over is yourself. Get your ass up in the morning. Wash your ass. Take care of your personal hygiene. I'm not trying to, despite what Homeboy said, man, I'm not trying to fucking joke y'all. I'm telling y'all real shit. You can wash your ass. You can clean. Look, I lived in a shed. That bitch was the nicest shed. Clean the fucking shit that you have control over. You will feel better about yourself. Go to the fucking gym. Do some shit. You know what I'm saying? Look, get a fucking job, man. Get a fucking job. And when you get the job, show up at the bitch. And then do the damn job when you're there. And then when you get the money, give it to the fucking people you're supposed to give it to. I had 5 years clean and shit, and I still hadn't learned that part. I would pay the rent like late all the time, but I had the power cut on illegally and shit. I had a gang of chicks. I would always be like, oh, that outlet's broke. Let me take your phone. I had cords ran off strategically and shit. 5 years clean. I'm trying to look good with brand new clothes on, nice truck and shit. You know, that was more important to me than you got to learn this shit the hard way, right? Right? It was older guys in the fellowship who were like, man, look, why the fuck are you wearing brand new shoes and a brand new hat right now when I know damn good and well your power bill's fucked up? I'm like, damn. That's what this fellowship will give you. Some people who really care about you and are going to tell you what's good, not some bullshit that you want to hear, right? So then look, once you start seeing all these patterns in your life, or I'll talk about me. Once I started seeing all these patterns in my life and I get into step 6 and step 7, those are the character defect steps. That's where you start reprogramming that computer I was talking about. Like, look, I'm pretty good at this. Let me get as much of this shit into my life as possible. Yo, this shit fucks me up. Let me keep this ingredient as far away. Playing with the recipe is a constant fucking thing, dude. Don't matter if you got 2 days, 2 hours, or 20 years clean. Playing with the ingredients of that recipe is important. And that's what we do in step 10. But before you get to step 10, then we get to 8. Most people are afraid of 8 also because it's one we write out the list of people you got to say you're sorry to. A lot of folks, when they get to 9, they're all fucking amped up when you have like 5 days clean. You want to go tell everybody in the world you're sorry and shit. You ain't ready for that yet because most of them people are tired of hearing, I'm sorry from your ass. You know what I mean? But look, when you're ready for it, because you did the other steps first, step 9 is the best thing in the world. Because look, I didn't have any shortage of people in my life who were quick to beat me over the head with my past, right? And be like, yeah, bitch, we know you're doing good now, but we know who you really are, motherfucker. You're going to fuck up again, and you're going to do all that shit again. We know it. It's coming. It's coming. But what does step 9 say? Step 9 says, I go to these people and I say, yo, you're right. I did that shit. I'm not going to do it anymore. If I owe you some money, I'll keep hitting it off until I get you right. By the way, let me get that club. You don't get to keep hitting me with my past, right? Now, look, I ain't giving the fucking club back if I keep doing the same bullshit. But if you're truly trying to amend the way you're living, take that fucking club, throw that shit out the window. Don't let nobody beat you up with your past. That's the worst fucking thing in the world you could do for yourself, particularly in early recovery. You got enough shit going against you to have somebody beating you up, right? Then we get to step 10. Step 10 is where you're working on those fucking ingredients every damn day. Like, look, you got to be, like, let's say I live at the oceanfront. If I got to be at a job in Norfolk at 9 o'clock, there's no fucking reason for me to sleep till 8:30. I'm starting my day off stressed out, right? Get your ass up early. I do some prayers. I read some recovery stuff. I got a little routine that I do. It starts my day off right. You know what I'm saying? And then at the end of the day, sometimes during the day, I got to step away from a situation and be like, yo, homeboy is acting like a fucking idiot, but you know what? He can do that. I'm just going to focus on me. I know y'all are dealing with that a lot up in here. I know y'all are. My little girl, that little girl Mallory that I was just telling y'all about, she just turned 19. She just checked out AMA from here. Yeah, it's fucked up, man. That little girl was raised in recovery. She came in here. Joe W's my sponsor. Joe got her in here. She would call me every day. These fucking people, blah, 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 blah. I knew how it is in fucking rehabs and shit. You know what I mean? But look, work on you. If all you focused on is other fucking people, you will always be in a situation where you're focused on other fucking people. Yeah. That ain't no bullshit. Once you fix you, then look, man, I mean, hey, man, I got a fucking house that I can go to. I don't need to really listen.
That right here and there. Yeah, I know that.
Hey, we got a meeting. Everybody's all right?
Oh, they're good. They all remember Mallory.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, she just left here like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, she's just like me too. Yeah. But anyways, my point though is like when you're doing that 10th step stuff, like at the end of the night, you're like, man, you did pretty good when you got in that situation, man. You need to remember that and work on that Start doing that more often. And then looking back over the day, dude, you fucked that one thing all up. You should have blah, blah, blah. Remember that shit. That's what step 10, it's a daily inventory. That ain't some shit you do one time. It's something we do every day. And then step 11 comes around. That's where that higher power, maybe you weren't cool with the higher power. By the time you get to step 11, you got to start having some sort of relationship with whatever your higher power is. In NA, we don't tell you what your higher power has to be. It could be this fucking chair if you want it to be. You know what I mean? If it turns into something else, cool, right? But then when you get to step 12, that's when you want to give back. I got plenty of shit I could be doing tonight, but I come here and do this because I believe that my higher power wants me to try to help other people. I don't care what your higher power is, but there isn't a religion anywhere on the planet that tells you to scoop up everything you can and hoard that shit to yourself. You're a fucking asshole if that's what you would want to do anyways. Look, man, God gives us all gifts and we need to use them to help each other, right? That's why I come here and do this shit. Okay, look, the last thing, I got 2 more things I'm going to tell y'all. Look, I want to tell y'all about the Serenity Prayer. The Serenity Prayer is something that is said before and at the end of NA meetings, and people just kind of say it real quick to get it over with, but it's the most powerful thing that we have. You guys could use it with the amount of time you got clean right now. What's the Serenity Prayer? Grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'll give you a practical application of it. I just turned 50 back in September. My wife took me to Puerto Rico for a surf trip. That was her present to me. It was fucking awesome. She turned 50 in April and she wanted to go to ice. I didn't want to go to ice. We were going to go to ice. In fucking February, we got rear-ended and it jacked my wife's back. Like, put her in the hospital. She's still kind of wrecked. But look, what does the Serenity Prayer say? Grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. I don't have a time machine. I can't make the wreck not happen. The courage to change the things that I can't. What can I change? I can change Shawn. That's the only thing I can change. Look, because I was mad as a bitch. I was angry. We got a pretty decent life. That shit was a massive fucking shitball into our pretty decent life, right? But look, man, my wife was in the hospital for like a month and some change. She needed somebody to talk to the doctor. She needed a husband who was going to take care of the house. Mallory's dumbass was in jail. I needed to deal with lawyers for her. I had the fucking lawyers for the wreck. I had the car insurance people. I had to do all of that stuff. Not fucking, that was the courage to change what I can, was changing me, right? And then the wisdom to know the difference is understanding the first 2 parts. Look, man, I could beat my head against the wall because I don't like something. Something could be going on. I can bang my head against the wall fucking night. It ain't going to make the shit change. But if I recognize something's going on and then I do everything that I can, I got to take my hands off of it from there. I got 20 years clean, man. Seeing my baby, that little girl grew up crawling in fucking meetings, dude. She was my second chance to be a good dad because my other daughter never had a good dad because I was out there doing my thing and shit, right? I spoiled the dog shit. It's probably why she's the way she is.
You did that when you live.
Yeah, that's true. But look, watching that is the most painful fucking thing that I've had to deal with the whole time I've been clean. But look, no matter how much it hurts me, I got to put the Serenity Prayer on it. Amen. I got to put the Serenity Prayer on it. I got to accept it. She's going into the same haunted house that I went in. I'm like, Mallory, I already know what's coming around that corner. And she's like, fuck you, I already know. And then this is the same fucking goblin around all these corners, motherfucker. It's called addiction. I know where they're all at. This ain't no fucking new haunted house, right? Don't go in that bitch. But she went in anyways. I got to accept that shit, right? I got to accept it. I can do the best that I can. I can say, let's go to some meetings. I can talk to you. After that, that's ball game. That's the most that I can do. It's in God's hands then. My parents probably were not happy with the plan God had for me, but I think it kind of worked out all right. Now, look, the very last thing that I'm going to say is meetings. Look, if any of y'all are local to here, and I don't know if you came from out of the state or what have you, but look, in Tidewater area, we have 136 meetings a fucking week. I do a lot of traveling and I always Google what's the meet. Most places are like the Monday night meeting or the Tuesday night meeting. It's like a 40-minute drive. Man, look, we got 25 meetings you can pick from every single day from 9 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. That's just NA. If you put AA in there too, there's no excuse, right? But look, you got to go to a lot of meetings because look, the meetings, we don't have anybody, no committee that goes around the meetings that says, this is how your meeting's got to be. We don't carry it like that. So you might go to one meeting, sit down and say, man, I really like this meeting. And then the next night you might be like, yo, I don't feel comfortable in here at fucking all. That's because the meetings take the vibe of the home group members. You got to find the meetings that you vibe with and then go to them bitches early. And then that's where you'll find the people who are serious about their recovery. And then you got to get some phone numbers because look, the biggest thing that is that other fucked up in the game stumbling block that been talking about is when you have that first real bad day. And I'm not talking about like just a bad day because everybody has those, but I'm saying like you've got like 30, 60, 90 days or so. We call it you're on a pink cloud where you're feeling real good about stuff. Maybe you don't like yourself yet, but you're starting to not hate yourself. You know what I mean? And then you have a fucking terrible day, a real bad day. The kind of day where you're feeling so terrible, you're like, man, fuck this. I know how I'm going to feel if I smoke this, shoot this, snort this, drink this, eat this pill, and I don't care what the consequences are. That kind of day. Hopefully, when you were on that pink cloud, you weren't one of those people who goes to a meeting, sits in the back, and as soon as it's gone, it's over, you bounce. Nobody got to know you. We want to help each other. If you're running away from the help, you're running away from the help. If you're hanging out and you're talking, look, my sponsor used to tell me, he'd say, look, man, there's a group of guys over there. Go over there and talk to them. I'm like, man, I don't even know them motherfuckers. And he would be, just go stand next to them. Nobody's ever going to be like, who are you? Get away from us. Somebody's going to be like, hey, what's going on? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. You will feel welcome. I promise. Because look, when I leave here, like the next 2-3 days, man, I feel on top of the world. We want to try to help folks, right? So you're never bothering nobody. So you got to get phone numbers. Look, I know there's a lot of women in here, but I'm speaking to my story, right? So for the guys in our area, the next biggest stumbling block, fucked up in the game block, and this does count for y'all too, is trying to hook up when you're brand new to your recovery. Everybody's trying to get laid, right? What the fuck do you know about having a broken heart? How do you know how to deal with a broken heart when you're fucking 30 days clean? You don't know how to deal with a broken heart at 30 days clean. That's a guaranteed fuck this moment where you're going to say fuck it. So look, the dudes in our area, we tell the dudes, focus on the 3 M's: meetings, meditation, and masturbation. Lead them. For real. You don't got to do the last part, but leave the chicks alone. Work on you because look, once you start doing that, once you kill that dude that I was talking about, once y'all kill that lady, that's that evil twin. Once that evil twin is they ain't never completely dead. They're like Freddy Krueger or Jason laying down over here and shit. You got to keep like looking over at them and shit because some bitches will pop back up and get you and shit. That's why we got step 10 though. That's why it's a daily inventory. That's like where you're looking over your shoulder like that dude's still dead over there, right? Okay, all right, cool. Because they will jump back up.
Yes.
They will.
Like alien.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. Exactly right. But look, one of the surefire ways to wake him up and have him come and get you is getting into a relationship and early recovery and getting your heart broke and getting your feelings hurt. A lot of guys don't want to admit, I don't get my feelings hurt. Bullshit. Okay? So look, don't do that. Look, that's the last thing I'm going to say. Go to a whole bunch of meetings. Find the meetings that you feel comfortable in and get with some dudes and some ladies that fucking you feel like you can connect with because you're going to have to make phone calls. You're going to have to make phone calls because you're also not going to sit at your house with your hands behind your back being bored forever. You've got to start finding new hobbies. I said that was the last thing, but this will be the last thing. There is not a little boy or girl anywhere in the world that you say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say a crackhead. None of them. That shit just happens. So we all had dreams at some point. You can start charging those dreams now. Now. You know how many people, that's why so many people that work in here are in recovery, because they all got clean and they went back to school. Maybe they flunked out of fucking high school, but then they got straight A's in college. Because when we were in high school, we didn't give a shit. We just wanted to part. But then when you go back to school and you really care, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. You can charge it. Like, look, man, every one of us, the sky's the limit, man. When that dude's dead and you stop using those powers that you got for evil and start redirecting them for good, dude, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. Every single person in you. You're more equipped and more fucking qualified for just about any job, because you've got knowledge that most normal people don't have. Dumb addicts are called corpses. Y'all are all alive. Every one of y'all. You use the skills that you use to navigate active addiction. Like, I know how to run my mouth and talk. It kept me alive through a whole bunch of shit. It kept me hustling when I was the only white dude in most of the blocks I've always been in. I'm a hell of a salesman now. That was me using my skills for fucking the dope game, and now I use it for a career. I can sell anything to anybody. Okay? So look, the same principle goes for everybody. Everybody's got some skills God gave you, and you're just using them in the wrong way. Turn them around and use them for the right shit. Thanks.
Real quick, let's give motherfucker Shawn and motherfucker Hope a round of applause. One more time.